I'm sitting here with Indu Navar, famous startup founder and CEO. She built a company, she bootstrapped it, she made it successful, and she sold the company. So we're here today, Indu, we're talking about female founders, female CEOs, female executives, the good and the bad, and tips to young female CEOs on how to go about building a business.
So it's funny when you said famous CEO, the first thing that came to my mind is saying, Marten, I'm not that famous, It again goes back to women not being very comfortable when praised. I mean, I think, my journey, it was just a journey. I would do it in a heartbeat again if I had to do it. I mean, it was not only for, the end game, the monetary gain, it's also the journey and the awareness I got about myself and building this great company and building the team. And also figuring out what I'm capable of doing myself. If you're passionate about something, follow your dream. There is really those obstacles of, can women do this? It's really yesterday's story. There's so many opportunities for women. And I feel, even when I started the company, even though it was 10 years ago, and there was still a lot more support from the community. And there was not a lot of, can you really do it, as much as show me you can really do it, so there's probably a little bit more as a woman I had to do to show that I'm capable of doing it.
So was it easier as a woman to do it, do you know, or do you think you had a tougher job because you were?
I would say it's both. I mean, I would go to a conference and could get anybody's attention because I'm a woman, I could stand there and say, hey, can I get your card and can I call you, and people would remember who I am because I stood out. So that was positive, right? And I made some great contacts. I got my first investor like that. I got my first few customers like that. I could get people's attention and people would remember me if I sent them an email again. But on the other hand, I needed to learn with, how do you, when you go for fundraising or when you deal with some of the board situations, how do you actually maneuver in such a way that, my being a female does not come in the way? And there were some learnings I had to do.
Right. So now sometimes people say female CEOs and executives, they should just be themselves and not try to be men. And some other times people say, oh, female executives should be more assertive and present themselves more. So how do you navigate when there's something for you to learn and change in your approach and your behavior, and when do you stick to just the natural you that you always wear?
I've had early advices when I started the company about some women telling me that I should dress like a man, don't put on too much makeup or lipstick and wear pinstripe suits and, be like a man so you can demand respect. I realized that's not me. I would be so uncomfortable if I did that because I am, who I am, and I like to be feminine and I like to. So that probably exudes more energy from me than trying to pretend to be someone. But I think there is some truth to trying to understand how men operate. That is, the clarity in which and the focus, how they actually communicate. There is some learning actually women can do. I think some of it is just not a natural ability to show that level of focus, that level of direction, and that level of assertiveness in doing something. And I think in those things, I think it's positive learning as opposed to trying to, it's not a negative learning. I'm not trying to be someone else, but I'm actually learning that's what business takes. Assertiveness, focus, direction. We talked about being assertive, but also I would add to it is really being very clear on what you want and demanding what you want. And a lot of the times I think women get very uncomfortable asking, first of all. Secondly, when you hear like it might not be okay asking for it, we have a tendency to be okay with what we have and not really ask for it. So it's kind of a self-justifying process of I might not deserve it. It's okay, as opposed to really demanding what you think you deserve. And if you don't get it, it's fine. At least you demanded it and you actually put yourself out.
So you say assertiveness, focus, direction. Are those the is that your advice to a young female company founder and CEO?
Yes, yes, yes.
Anything else? Any mistake you made that you would advise them to avoid?
I would say, if I had, my next company, some of the things I will do differently. Obviously, I learned things. One of the things is people. As you when you're young, you don't realize it, but when you get into a situation where you've raised $20-30 million and you've got a board, there is a lot at stake for everybody, and there is never a straight line to building a company. There's always downs, you have to know, because ups look really, party time, but downs you have to be really understand. And those are the times you really need a team to work together to actually get that time to actually, cross that period. And you can't have a broken team at that time because it's very critical. So I would say if I had to redo it again, I would seriously look at my board members and major investors if they have worked with other women before and other high-powered women before, and they understand how to work with high-powered women, and they are okay with it, because I would say that probably not that I make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. I'll own up to the mistakes I make, but the reaction that I show needs to be okay, because those are my reaction as a female. And I think when we're in a situation when it's very intense situation, when people have things that they're going to lose or gain, I think those are the situation I feel we can collaborate better. And I think the collaboration will come from everybody feeling like what you bring to the table and how you express your opinion or emotion is okay. Because I do tend to get aggressive in a way that's probably warrants some people that I'm upset. I'm not upset, just that my voice raises and I can be very gesture, and sometimes I have tears. But that's part of my emotion and it's okay. I'm not trying to do anything other than express myself, which is very similar to a guy who's gonna bang on the table or something like that.
So Indu, you're saying you're telling young female startup founders and CEOs to be themselves, to not be afraid to drive their initiatives and be assertive. And then you just gave advice to men as well. You said men need to understand how female CEOs operate, and they have to understand the reactions and what they mean. Exactly.
I would say that's, you put it very well. It's, I think the communication might not be exactly the same way we do, especially during the time where there's a lot going on and a lot at stake, and you have to make some very hard decisions.
Right. And it turned out wonderfully well for your company.
Yes.
So thank you, Indu. Thanks for sharing your thoughts here today.
Thank you.